These aren't the pickup trucks you see every day. Built in tiny numbers and nearly forgotten, here are 7 of the rarest American pickups ever made. The first time I came across the 1937 Hudson Terraplane utility pickup, I honestly thought someone had customized it years later, because it doesn't look like the typical American pickup from the 1930s. Most trucks of that era were simple, square, and built with one purpose in mind: hard work. They had upright grills, plain bodies, and almost no attention paid to style. They were tools, not something you admired. But then there's the Terraplane utility pickup. It almost looks like a passenger car that somehow grew a pickup bed. The curved fenders, the flowing body lines, the beautifully shaped hood, the elegant grille. Everything about it feels far more refined than a work truck had any right to be in 1937. Hudson wasn't interested in building just another commercial vehicle. Instead, the company took its stylish Terraplane passenger car and transformed it into a pickup that combined utility with comfort and attractive design. It was aimed at buyers who needed a truck during the week, but still wanted something that looked respectable when parked in front of their home or business. That idea may sound normal today, but back then it was surprisingly uncommon. Most manufacturers believed a truck only needed to carry cargo. Hudson believed it could carry cargo and look good doing it. The result was one of the most elegant American pickups of its generation. Under the hood was Hudson's dependable engine, giving the truck enough power for everyday work while still delivering the smooth driving experience that helped make the Terraplane name popular. Compared with many commercial trucks of the time, it felt more civilized, more comfortable, and easier to drive. Inside, the cab also reflected its passenger car origins. Instead of feeling like a stripped-down work machine, the Terraplane utility pickup offered a level of refinement that many competitors simply couldn't match. For small business owners, farmers, and delivery companies, it was an appealing combination of practicality and style. But despite all of its strengths, the Terraplane utility pickup had one major problem: timing. The late 1930s were still difficult years for many Americans. The economy was recovering slowly from the Great Depression, and most truck buyers weren't interested in paying extra for elegant styling. They wanted durability, low operating costs, and something that could handle hard work every single day. For many customers, appearance simply wasn't a priority. As a result, Hudson built the utility pickup in very limited numbers. Compared with Ford and Chevrolet trucks that rolled off assembly lines by the thousands, the Terraplane became an uncommon sight almost from the moment it was introduced. Many Americans probably went their entire lives without ever seeing one in person. And as the years passed, that rarity only became more extreme. Work trucks usually lived hard lives. They hauled equipment, they carried heavy loads, they were driven in bad weather and rough conditions. When they wore out, most owners didn't preserve them. They scrapped them. Very few people thought an old pickup would someday become a valuable collector's item. Because of that, countless Terraplane utility pickups disappeared forever. Today, surviving examples are extraordinarily rare. Even experienced collectors who specialize in pre-war American vehicles may never have the opportunity to see one outside of museums, vintage photographs, or classic car books. And that's exactly why this truck is so fascinating. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't the fastest, it wasn't built to break records. Instead, it quietly introduced the idea that a pickup didn't have to sacrifice style in order to be useful. Decades before the world embraced luxury pickups loaded with chrome, premium interiors, and bold styling, Hudson had already experimented with that philosophy. Looking back now, the 1937 Hudson Terraplane utility pickup feels like a vehicle that was decades ahead of its time. It proved that a work truck could also be elegant, that practicality and good design could exist together. Unfortunately, very few people noticed when it was new, and that's why today it's remembered as one of the rarest and most overlooked American pickups ever built. The 1937 Hudson Terraplane utility pickup wasn't just another forgotten truck, It was a beautiful idea that arrived long before buyers were ready to appreciate it. A stylish workhorse, a hidden automotive treasure, and one of the rarest pre-war American pickups you'll probably never see in person. When I first discovered the 1939 Studebaker Coupe Express, I honestly couldn't believe this was supposed to be a pickup truck, because nothing about it looked like a typical work vehicle from the late 1930s. Most pickups of that era were built with one purpose in mind: getting the job done. They had simple steel bodies, basic interiors, and almost no attention paid to comfort or style. They were tools for farmers, contractors, and small businesses, not something people dreamed about owning. But then, Studebaker came along with a completely different idea. Instead of building another rugged work truck, they decided to create something no one was expecting: a pickup that looked and felt like a luxury automobile. The first thing you notice is the styling. It doesn't have the upright, boxy appearance of most trucks from the period. Instead, it features a sleek, coupe-inspired design with smooth, flowing fenders, a beautifully sculpted hood, an elegant chrome grille, and body lines that look more like a stylish passenger car than a commercial vehicle. If you removed the cargo bed, you could easily mistake it for one of Studebaker's premium coupes, and that was exactly the point. The company wanted to prove that a pickup didn't have to be plain or boring. It could be stylish, it could be comfortable, it could even feel luxurious. Step inside and the differences became even more obvious. While most pickups offered little more than a simple bench seat and a few basic controls, the Coupe Express gave buyers a cabin that felt surprisingly refined. The seats were more comfortable, the dashboard was better finished, chrome trim appeared throughout the interior. The controls looked more elegant than purely functional. Instead of feeling like you were climbing into a piece of farm equipment, it felt like stepping into a proper automobile. For the late 1930s, that was an incredibly unusual experience. Studebaker believed there were customers who wanted the practicality of a pickup without sacrificing comfort or appearance. People who worked hard during the week but still appreciated beautiful design. In many ways, the Coupe Express was decades ahead of its time. Today, luxury pickups are everywhere. Manufacturers compete by offering leather seats, premium sound systems, massive touchscreens, and high-end materials. Modern buyers expect a truck to be both practical and comfortable. But Studebaker was thinking that way almost 90 years ago. Unfortunately, the market wasn't ready. The biggest problem wasn't the truck itself, it was the price. Adding stylish bodywork, extra chrome, and a more refined interior made the Coupe Express significantly more expensive than ordinary pickups. And during the late 1930s, that was a difficult sell. Most truck buyers weren't shopping for luxury. They wanted durability. They wanted reliability. They wanted a vehicle that could carry heavy loads every single day without costing a fortune. For many customers, paying extra for beautiful styling simply didn't make sense. If they needed a work truck, they bought a cheaper work truck. If they wanted a comfortable car, they bought a passenger car. The Coupe Express sat awkwardly between those two worlds, too luxurious for traditional truck buyers, too much of a pickup for customers looking for an ordinary automobile. As a result, sales never reached the level Studebaker had hoped. Production remained limited, and before long, the company quietly ended the project. What was supposed to become a new direction for American pickups instead became one of the shortest chapters in Studebaker's history. And because relatively few were built, surviving examples are incredibly rare today. Like many old work trucks, most Coupe Express models spent years hauling cargo, working on farms, or serving small businesses. They weren't treated like collectibles. They were driven until they wore out. Many were scrapped, abandoned, or simply disappeared over time. That makes finding one today incredibly difficult. Even experienced collectors can go years without seeing one in person. For many enthusiasts, the only place they've ever seen a 1939 Studebaker Coupe Express is in old magazines, vintage photographs, or museum collections. Looking back now, it's easy to see that Studebaker wasn't wrong. The company simply introduced its idea decades too early. Today, buyers happily spend enormous amounts of money on luxury pickups that combine comfort, technology, and premium styling with everyday practicality. That's exactly the philosophy the Coupe Express introduced back in 1939. It wasn't a bad idea, it was simply an idea that arrived long before customers were ready to embrace it. The 1939 Studebaker Coupe Express wasn't just another forgotten pre-war pickup. It was one of America's very first luxury trucks, a vehicle that proved a work truck could also be elegant, a machine that blended the comfort of a passenger car with the usefulness of a pickup. And although buyers overlooked it when it was new, history has been much kinder. Today, it's remembered as one of the rarest, most beautiful, and most fascinating American pickups ever built, a hidden masterpiece that was simply decades ahead of its time.
When I first discovered the 1938 Graham pickup, I honestly couldn't believe how forgotten this truck had become. Because when people talk about classic American pickups from the 1930s, almost everyone mentions the same names: Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, GMC, but almost nobody talks about Graham, and that's what makes this truck so interesting. This was a real American pickup built during one of the most difficult periods in automotive history. A truck created by a company that was trying to compete with the biggest names in the industry, but today it feels almost like a secret that was lost over time. The first thing that stands out about the Graham pickup is how different it feels compared with the more common trucks of the era. It wasn't designed to be the cheapest work machine. It wasn't built just to move cargo from one place to another. Graham had a reputation for creating automobiles with distinctive styling, and that same philosophy carried over into their trucks. The body had a more refined appearance. The lines were smoother. The design looked more like a passenger car than a traditional work vehicle. At a time when many pickups looked simple and industrial, the Graham tried to bring a little more personality to the truck market. And that was a bold move, because the late 1930s were not an easy time for independent automobile companies. The Great Depression had changed everything. Large manufacturers like Ford and Chevrolet had the production power, dealer networks, and financial strength to survive. Smaller companies had to fight for every customer. A truck could be beautifully designed and well-engineered, but without strong sales, a company could disappear quickly. And unfortunately, that was the challenge Graham faced. The pickup market was already dominated by established brands. Many buyers trusted the names they knew. When a farmer, business owner, or worker needed a dependable truck, they usually went with a company that had been around for years. Convincing customers to take a chance on something different was extremely difficult, especially during a time when money was tight. The Graham pickup arrived when people weren't looking for luxury or uniqueness. They wanted something affordable, something simple, something proven. And that made survival incredibly difficult. But the truck itself had an interesting story. Graham wasn't just another small company trying to copy Ford or Chevrolet. They had a history of innovation and unique designs. The company wanted to create vehicles that stood apart from the crowd. Their cars were known for distinctive styling, and their trucks carried some of that same character. The Graham pickup represented a different philosophy. A work truck didn't have to be boring. It could have style. It could have personality. It could look like something special. Unfortunately, the market didn't reward that idea. Production numbers remained very small. The truck never became a common sight on American roads. And because it was built during the Depression, many examples had difficult lives. These trucks were not treated as valuable collectibles. They were used. They hauled equipment. They carried supplies. They worked every day. And when they eventually wore out, many were simply thrown away. Nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would be searching for them. That is why surviving Graham pickups are incredibly rare today. Finding one is not like finding an old Ford or Chevrolet truck. Those were produced in huge numbers and are still relatively well known. The Graham is completely different. Many collectors have never seen one outside of photographs. Some classic truck enthusiasts don't even realize Graham ever built a pickup. And that's what makes discovering one so exciting. It feels like uncovering a forgotten piece of American automotive history. A reminder that the story of American trucks is much bigger than just the famous brands. Hundreds of companies tried to build something special. Some became legends, others disappeared. Graham belongs to that second group, but disappearing doesn't mean it wasn't important. The Graham pickup represents the ambition of a smaller manufacturer trying to challenge the giants. It represents creativity during a difficult time. It represents a company that believed there was still room for something different. Looking back today, the 1938 Graham pickup feels almost like a hidden treasure. It wasn't the most famous truck. It wasn't the most best-selling truck. It wasn't the truck that changed the industry. But it was unique. It had character. It had a story. And most importantly, almost nobody remembers it. The 1938 Graham pickup is one of those rare vehicles that makes you realize how many incredible machines have disappeared from history. A forgotten American workhorse, a survivor from the hardest years of the automotive world, a truck that quietly existed while Ford and Chevrolet took the spotlight. And today, its rarity is exactly what makes it special. Because sometimes the most fascinating vehicles aren't the ones everyone knows. They're the ones that make you stop and ask, how have I never heard of this before?
When I first discovered the 1936 REO Speed Wagon pickup, I couldn't believe how forgotten this truck had become. Because the name REO was once a very respected name in the American automotive world. Today, many people recognize Ford. They recognize Chevrolet. They recognize Dodge and GMC. But REO? For many people, that name has almost disappeared from memory. And that's a shame, because the company was once one of America's most important truck builders. The REO Speed Wagon was not just another pickup. It was a truck built with a reputation for strength, durability, and reliability. In fact, the Speed Wagon name was so respected that it became one of the earliest examples of a true American performance truck. Long before modern pickups tried to combine power, comfort, and style, REO was already building trucks that people trusted to get serious work done. The first thing that stands out about the 1936 REO Speed Wagon pickup is its personality. This wasn't a flashy truck trying to impress people with luxury features. It wasn't designed to look like a passenger car. It was a machine built for work. The tall stance, the strong frame, the simple but rugged design, everything about it gave the impression that this truck was ready for almost anything. During the 1930s, trucks were not lifestyle vehicles like they are today. They were tools. Farmers used them, businesses depended on them, workers needed them every day. A truck had to survive harsh conditions, heavy loads, and years of hard use, and that was exactly where REO built its reputation. The Speed Wagon name had already become famous before the 1936 model arrived. REO introduced the Speed Wagon in the 1910s, and it quickly gained attention because it was more advanced than many commercial vehicles of the time. It was designed to be faster, more comfortable, and more versatile than traditional trucks. Instead of just being a slow work machine, it offered a better driving experience. That idea continued into the 1930s. The Speed Wagon pickup represented REO's attempt to stay competitive in an increasingly difficult market. But by this time, the automotive world was changing quickly. The Great Depression had destroyed many smaller manufacturers. The biggest companies had advantages that smaller brands simply couldn't match. Ford and Chevrolet had enormous production numbers. They had strong dealer networks. They had loyal customers. For a company like REO, staying alive became harder every year. The truck itself had many strengths. It was durable, it was well built, it had a reputation for quality. But reputation alone wasn't enough. A company needed sales. And in the 1930s, buyers often chose the safest option. They wanted brands they already knew. They wanted easy access to parts and repairs. They wanted something proven. That made life extremely difficult for smaller truck manufacturers. The Speed Wagon pickup became a victim of this changing market. It wasn't a bad truck. Actually, it was a very capable machine.
The problem was that it was competing in a world where only the strongest companies could survive. As time passed, many Speed Wagon pickups disappeared, and the reason is simple. They were built to work. They were not treated as collectibles. Owners used them exactly as they were intended. They hauled equipment, they delivered goods, they worked on farms and businesses. When these trucks became old and worn out, many were scrapped instead of preserved. Nobody expected that decades later people would search for these rare REO pickups. And that's why finding a surviving example today is such a special experience. Unlike Ford or Chevrolet trucks from the same era, which were produced in much larger numbers, REO Speed Wagons are extremely uncommon. Many classic truck enthusiasts have never seen one in person. Seeing one at a vintage truck show is not an everyday experience. It's something that feels almost like discovering a forgotten piece of history. And that's what makes the 1936 REO Speed Wagon pickup so fascinating. It represents an era when hundreds of companies competed to build America's best truck. Some survived, many disappeared, but every one of them had a story. REO's story is especially interesting because the company had the talent and the experience. It built strong trucks, it created respected vehicles, it earned a loyal following. But sometimes the automotive world isn't only about building a great machine, it's also about timing, money, and survival. And unfortunately, REO couldn't keep up with the giants. Looking back today, the 1936 REO Speed Wagon pickup feels like a hidden treasure. It wasn't famous because millions were sold. It wasn't remembered because it dominated the market. It became special because so few survived. A rugged American workhorse from a forgotten company. A truck that helped build REO's reputation. A machine that quietly disappeared while other brands became legends. The 1936 REO Speed Wagon pickup is proof that automotive history isn't only written by the winners. Sometimes the most interesting stories belong to the forgotten ones. The trucks that worked hard, the companies that tried, and the machines that survived long after almost everyone forgot they existed.
When I first discovered the 1940 Diamond T Model 201 pickup, I honestly couldn't believe someone built a truck like this in 1940. Because this wasn't just another work truck. This was a pickup that looked like it was trying to be a luxury automobile. At a time when most trucks were simple machines built only for one purpose, hauling heavy loads, Diamond T decided to do something completely different. They created a truck that combined the toughness of a commercial vehicle with the style and elegance of a premium car. And that's exactly why people gave Diamond T one of the most impressive nicknames in the truck world, the Cadillac of trucks. The name wasn't an exaggeration. The moment you see the 1940 Diamond T Model 201 pickup, you understand why people viewed it differently. The beautiful chrome grille, the carefully shaped hood, the smooth fenders, the elegant proportions. This truck didn't look like something that belonged only on a farm or construction site. It looked like something a wealthy businessman might drive. It had presence. It had style. It had an appearance that made ordinary pickups of the era look basic. And the most surprising part? It was still a serious work machine. Diamond T didn't sacrifice strength for beauty. The company had a reputation for building extremely durable trucks, and the Model 201 continued that tradition. Underneath the elegant body was a heavy-duty platform designed to handle demanding jobs. It was built with quality materials. It was engineered for reliability. It was the kind of truck that owners expected to last for years. But Diamond T had a different philosophy from companies like Ford and Chevrolet. While the big manufacturers focused on producing affordable trucks for the average buyer, Diamond T focused on building something more exclusive. They wanted to create the best truck possible. Not necessarily the cheapest, not necessarily the most common, the best. And that philosophy created one of the most impressive pickups of the pre-war era. The problem was, quality comes with a price. The Diamond T Model 201 was far more expensive than a typical Ford or Chevrolet pickup, and in 1940, that was a major issue. The economy was still recovering from the Great Depression. Most customers weren't looking for a luxury truck. They wanted something practical and affordable. A farmer didn't necessarily need a beautifully finished grill. A small business owner didn't always want premium styling. They needed a truck that worked and didn't cost too much. That left Diamond T in a difficult position. The company built an incredible machine, but the market for such a vehicle was very small. Only a limited number of buyers could justify spending extra money on a truck that was more luxurious than necessary. As a result, production numbers remained low. Unlike Ford and Chevrolet pickups, which were produced in huge quantities, Diamond T Model 201 pickups became rare almost immediately, and that rarity only increased over time. Because like many old work trucks, these vehicles were not always preserved. They were used, they worked, they carried equipment, they spent years on farms, businesses, and job sites. Many eventually wore out and disappeared. Nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would search for these trucks. Today, finding a 1940 Diamond T Model 201 is a special event. Many classic truck enthusiasts know the name, they know the reputation, they know the history, but very few people actually get the chance to see one in person. And when you do see one, it becomes obvious why collectors value them so much. This wasn't just a pickup, it was a statement. It showed that a truck could be powerful and elegant at the same time. It proved that utility didn't have to mean boring. Long before modern luxury pickups became popular, Diamond T was already experimenting with that idea. A truck could be a tool during the day and still turn heads when it drove down the street. Looking back today, the 1940 Diamond T Model 201 pickup feels like a vehicle that was built for the future. Modern buyers now spend huge amounts of money on premium trucks with luxury interiors, advanced features, and upscale styling. But Diamond T was exploring that idea more than 80 years ago. The difference was that buyers in 1940 weren't ready to pay for it. The truck was too expensive, the market was too small, and the timing was difficult. But history has been much kinder to the Model 201. Today, it is remembered as one of the most beautiful and desirable American pickups ever created, a rare combination of strength, craftsmanship, and style. The 1940 Diamond T Model 201 pickup wasn't forgotten because it was unsuccessful. It was forgotten because it was too special for the average buyer. A luxury truck before luxury trucks existed. A pickup that wanted to be a Cadillac. A machine built with incredible ambition, but one that only a few people could afford. And that's exactly what makes it one of the most fascinating and rare American pickups ever built.
The 1941 Crosley pickup prototype. When I first discovered this, I honestly couldn't believe this was considered a pickup truck. Because compared with almost every American truck of the early 1940s, this thing looked completely out of place. While Ford, Chevrolet, and GMC were building large, heavy-duty pickups designed for farms, businesses, and serious work, Crosley was thinking in a completely different direction. They looked at the pickup truck and asked a question nobody else was asking. What if a truck didn't have to be big? And the answer was this tiny, lightweight, almost unbelievable little machine. The Crosley pickup prototype was one of the strangest experiments in American truck history. It was small, it was simple, it was completely different. And because so few were ever built, today it feels almost like a vehicle from a forgotten alternate version of automotive history. During the early 1940s, the typical American pickup was a large machine. People expected trucks to be powerful. They expected them to have big engines, strong frames, and enough size to handle heavy work. A pickup truck was supposed to be tough. It was supposed to look serious. But Crosley ignored that idea completely. Instead of building a smaller version of a traditional truck, they created something closer to a compact utility vehicle. The Crosley pickup was tiny compared with the trucks Americans were used to seeing. Its lightweight design made it completely unique. It didn't have the intimidating presence of a full-size pickup. It didn't look like it belonged on a farm next to a giant tractor. It looked more like a small delivery vehicle from the future.
And honestly, that was exactly what made it interesting. Crosley was a company known for thinking differently. While major manufacturers focused on larger vehicles, Crosley believed there was a market for affordable, efficient transportation. The company created small cars that were designed to be economical and practical. The pickup prototype followed the same philosophy. Instead of giving customers more size and more power, Crosley wanted to give them something simple, something affordable, something that could handle basic transportation and light-duty jobs without wasting fuel or resources. At the time, that idea was extremely unusual. America was a country that loved big vehicles, bigger engines, bigger bodies, bigger trucks. The Crosley approach went against almost everything the market believed a truck should be. And that's what makes this prototype so fascinating. It was thinking about the future before most people were ready for it. Today, compact pickups and small utility vehicles are completely normal around the world. People appreciate vehicles that are efficient, easy to drive, and practical. But in 1941, the idea of a tiny American pickup seemed almost strange. The biggest problem for Crosley was timing. The world was about to enter World War II. Automobile production changed dramatically. Factories were focused on military needs. Civilian vehicle development was interrupted, and many experimental projects never had the opportunity to become successful production models. The Crosley pickup prototype became one of those forgotten ideas. It appeared briefly, it showed what was possible, and then it almost disappeared. Because so few examples were created, the truck became incredibly rare. Unlike Ford and Chevrolet pickups from the same period, which were produced in huge numbers, Crosley's little pickup never became a common sight. It wasn't a vehicle that thousands of workers depended on. It wasn't a truck that filled America's roads. It was an experiment, a test of a completely different philosophy. And because of that, very few survived. Today, finding a Crosley pickup prototype is almost like finding a piece of automotive archaeology. Many collectors have never seen one outside of photographs. Some enthusiasts don't even know Crosley experimented with pickup trucks at all. And when people see one for the first time, the reaction is usually the same. Was this really built in America in 1941? Because it feels so unusual. It looks too small, too simple, too different. But that's exactly why it matters. The Crosley pickup wasn't trying to compete with heavy-duty trucks. It was trying to create a completely new category, a small, efficient American utility vehicle long before the world became interested in that idea. Looking back today, it's easy to see that Crosley was exploring concepts that would become important decades later. Compact design, fuel efficiency, affordable transportation, practical size. These ideas would eventually become popular around the world. But in 1941 America, most buyers weren't ready. They wanted traditional trucks. They wanted power. They wanted size. The Crosley pickup was simply too different for its own time. And that's what makes its story so interesting. It wasn't forgotten because it was a bad idea. It was forgotten because it arrived before the market was ready to understand it. The 1941 Crosley pickup prototype was a tiny truck with an enormous idea behind it, a little machine that challenged the belief that every pickup had to be big and powerful, a forgotten experiment from a company brave enough to try something completely different. And maybe that's why this tiny pickup is so fascinating, because sometimes the most important vehicles in history aren't the ones that sold millions. Sometimes they're the strange little machines that dared to imagine a different future. The 1941 Crosley pickup prototype was one of those vehicles. Small in size, but enormous in imagination.
1941 Willys pickup, pre-war. When I first discovered the 1941 Willys pickup, I honestly couldn't believe this truck existed before the legendary Jeep era. Because today, when most people hear the name Willys, they immediately think of one thing: the Jeep, the rugged military vehicle that helped win World War II, the machine that became an icon of toughness and adventure. But before Willys became famous for the Jeep, the company was trying something completely different. They were building small, stylish pickups. And that's what makes the 1941 Willys pickup so fascinating. This was a truck that existed in a forgotten moment of history, a short chapter before the world changed forever. A vehicle that had potential, but never got the chance to become what it could have been. At first glance, the 1941 Willys pickup doesn't look like the massive American trucks people usually imagine from that era. It was smaller, more compact, more refined. While companies like Ford and Chevrolet were focused on larger pickups for farms and businesses, Willys took a different approach. They created a lightweight truck that was easier to drive and more economical. The design had a unique personality. The rounded fenders, the simple but attractive grille, the compact proportions. It looked more like a passenger car that had been transformed into a useful work vehicle. And honestly, that was one of its biggest advantages. It wasn't just a tool, it had character. During the early 1940s, America was going through a major transition. The automotive industry was changing rapidly. Manufacturers were experimenting with different ideas. Smaller vehicles were becoming more interesting. Customers were looking for affordable transportation, and Willys wanted to find its place in that competitive market. The company already had experience building automobiles, but it was facing intense competition from much larger manufacturers: Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, GMC. These companies had enormous resources and loyal customers. For a smaller company like Willys, standing out was not easy. The pickup market was especially challenging. Most buyers wanted proven trucks from familiar brands. A farmer or business owner needed something dependable. They needed easy access to parts. They needed a vehicle that could handle years of hard work. And convincing customers to choose a lesser-known truck was not easy. But the Willys pickup had some interesting qualities. Its smaller size made it easier to maneuver. Its lightweight design helped with efficiency, and its passenger car routes gave it a more comfortable driving experience compared with some traditional work trucks. It was a different kind of pickup, not a heavy-duty monster, not a basic work machine, something in between, a practical little truck for people who wanted utility without unnecessary size. The problem was, history had other plans. Because in 1941, the world was moving towards war, and when World War II began, the entire American automotive industry changed. Factories shifted their focus towards military production. Civilian vehicle development was interrupted. Many experimental models disappeared. Companies had to concentrate on supporting the war effort. And for Willys, that change would completely transform its future. Instead of continuing to develop civilian pickups, the company became famous for producing military Jeeps. That vehicle became a symbol of American strength and reliability. The Jeep name grew into a legend, but the earlier Willys pickups were left behind. They became a forgotten piece of the company's history. And because production numbers were already small before the war, very few survived. These trucks were never common. They were not produced in massive numbers like Ford or Chevrolet pickups. They were used, worked, and eventually disappeared. Many owners never thought of preserving them. They were just old trucks, and old trucks usually had only one destination when they were worn out: the scrapyard. That's why finding a 1941 Willys pickup today is incredibly rare. Many classic truck enthusiasts know about Willys Jeeps, but far fewer people know about these early pickups. For some collectors, seeing one in person is almost like discovering a missing chapter of automotive history. And that's exactly what makes this truck special. It represents the path Willys could have taken, a completely different future where the company might have become known for compact civilian trucks instead of military vehicles. Looking back today, the 1941 Willys pickup feels like a vehicle caught between two worlds. It belonged to the old automotive industry, but it disappeared because a new era was beginning. A stylish little truck built during a moment of uncertainty, a machine that never got the chance to prove itself. The 1941 Willys pickup wasn't forgotten because it was unsuccessful. It was forgotten because history moved in another direction. World War II changed everything. Willys found its identity with the Jeep, and this little truck quietly disappeared. But maybe that's what makes it so interesting, because automotive history isn't only about the cars and trucks that became famous, it's also about the ones that almost had a different future. The forgotten experiments, the rare machines, the vehicles built at exactly the wrong moment. The 1941 Willys pickup was one of those vehicles, a small truck with big potential, a rare pre-war survivor, and a fascinating reminder that before Willys became a Jeep legend, it was trying to build something completely different.